EPAWA meteorologist Bobby Martins here with your outlook for September 26, 2022. It is Monday and we're back to work. We have a lot to talk about this week because we have a tropical system in the Caribbean that is named Ian, and that is the correct name of this system. I actually had the weekend video forecast pre-recorded, and at the time I recorded it, it was late in the day, but the National Hurricane Center decided to name a weak invest out by the Cape Verde Islands, and that was what took the name of Hermine. So Ian is the next one in line, and that is what the storm I was talking about on the weekend video is actually named. So they kind of trolled me a little bit there with a very weak storm that probably shouldn't have been named, but I digress. So here we are after the video sat over the weekend for 2 straight days with now a retraction, because that is now what is going to be Hurricane Ian, and that will affect part of the U.S. this week. And we'll talk about here in today's video, give you the latest details and thoughts about that. The Monday video forecast is sponsored by Kinsley's Family Market in Broadheadsville, Monroe County, Pennsylvania. Kinsley's is the world's largest ShopRite, and the ShopRite logo means they're all about food, they're all about savings, and they're all about you. Football is in full swing. My Nittany Lions are 4-0. My Eagles are 3-0. Had to throw that in there. And Kinsley's has all of your favorite tailgating foods ready to serve, including shrimp platters, vegetable and fruit platters, legendary wings, 6-foot hoagies, and a lot more. Stop in and speak with Kevin, their catering guru, and start tailgating today in style. They are Kinsley's ShopRite, located at 107 Kinsley's Drive in Broadheadsville, Monroe County, Pennsylvania. Proud sponsors of the Monday video forecast. So today, starting off with the forecast for this week, we still have a low spinning over the eastern Great Lakes, and it's sitting right here, just kind of sitting and spinning. There's a little bit of some shortwave activity that's going to move around that today. So today, for most of you, it's going to be sunny to start, then partly cloudy, and there could be, especially in our interior and northern areas, up here in these regions, northwest of that line, could get into an isolated passing shower here and there today. It's not going to be a washout by any means. It's just going to be a quick passing in and out shower. And that's it. And then we might be dealing with this again here on Tuesday as this one goes into New England. It might be a little bit further north this time and northwest for that activity. But here's what the NAM High-Res Future Simulator Radar has for today. I'll start this off at upper right-hand corner, has a timestamp, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. As I move this forward, you can see some pop-up showers in a few spots. Not many, but there are a few interior pop-up showers rotating around that low that's in the eastern Great Lakes, and that will be over at New England on Tuesday. So Tuesday we might be dealing with the same exact thing with a pop-up shower here in spots here on Tuesday, but otherwise we are partly cloudy both days in between that. So just a quick passing shower, light in and out, and that's it. And that's what we're dealing with the next 2 days. And so this low continues its way out, which will be on Wednesday as we'll move up into Maine. And then we're looking at going back to partly cloudy skies here on Wednesday. There is a weak cold front in association with this, which is right about here. All right. So that weak cold front is going to move through on Wednesday night. So that's going to mean Thursday, Friday, to the end of the week here, we're going to have temperatures back in the 60s again. So we're going to start off the week here, for some of you, 70 or above, and then we're going to slowly come down a little bit each day until we get to Wednesday. The front comes through, and then we're looking at 60s Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for most areas to round out the week. Now, you see down here, this is Ian, okay? Expected to be a major hurricane at some point of its life cycle, and then it's going to come right along the western coast of Florida. It's uncertain whether it's going to actually make landfall there or not, somewhere between Sarasota and Tampa. So, I mean, there's some different possibilities here. I'm going to show you the European model. We're going to go down to Florida here in a second. Give me a second here. Get to the state map of Florida so we can see this a little bit better. This is what the European model has. It does come over the western tip of Cuba after affecting the Cayman Islands today, western tip of Cuba, and then it comes really close to Sarasota and Tampa, and the European model actually does make landfall near the Tampa-St. Pete area, okay? And then it takes it right along the coast, paralleling the coast here, and then very slowly crawling up to the northwest after that point. We're now getting to Friday morning here at this point, and it's still over north-central Florida on this European model run. As I go back out to the expanded view, at this same point, There is a big high pressure that is sitting over the northeast U.S. at the end of the week here. And you can see that right here, big H we can put right here. So this is going to impede the progress of this coming northward. It's going to be very slow to come northward. And this is Friday morning when it gets to this point right here. There is a large rain shield with this after it becomes post-tropical or extratropical moving up the coast. But it's going to run to this high. So just like in wintertime, when you have a big high sitting over top, it can't go through a high pressure, especially not one that's 1,030 millibars. So it's going to take its time crawling up northward. That is going to give the system time to weaken significantly, okay? So even if we do get some remnant rainfall out of this, which the European model does in fact do, it has a mostly sunny Thursday, partly cloudy Friday because you have some clouds associated with the outflow of this storm that's now sitting over south central Georgia here on Friday evening. It's going to take some time to get up here, okay? So this is getting into Saturday now, and you get some showers coming in the afternoon on the European model. But look how weak this is as it moves back into the Tennessee Valley, and it weakens significantly. We do get some showers with this, and that will go into Sunday here on the European model before it finally pulls away early Monday morning and takes everything with it. So there is some shower opportunities both Saturday and Sunday. The exact timing of that is still in question. The exact impacts here locally is still in question. I would venture that we're going to be on the lower side of the rain totals. We're not looking at 4, 5, 6, 8 inches of rain out of this, right? We're also not dealing with wind out of the system. I know this is a hurricane at one time in its life cycle, but by the time it gets, since it's moving so slow, it's going to have time to weaken significantly over Florida and Georgia, and then eventually that just kind of die out and peter out over the Tennessee and Ohio valleys here. So it's not going to have a lot of hardly any wind when it gets up to this point. So we're not dealing with a wind situation with this, I think, in any scenario that you want to draw up here. The GFS is doing something somewhat similar. It has it coming parallel to the coast. Again, I'll go down to Florida here so you can see a close-up of this. But there is, it brings it up. Let me get the right image here. It brings us up the coast here, like it's over the western tip of Cuba and comes up parallel to the coast, not quite making landfall near the Tampa area. Instead, it keeps going northwest, weakening as it does so. It's encountering some shear at that point and makes landfall in the Big Bend of Florida. So they're not very far apart, the GFS and European models projections here. It's just whether or not, we're talking about 15 miles here, whether it hits the coast or not. When it gets to this point right here, well, maybe 25. It's not that far off the coast here at this point on the GFS, and then it eventually curves to the left like the European model does, but since it never makes landfall on the western coast of Florida, it comes into the Big Bend instead and continues northwestward, again going back out to the wide range of the GFS here. Still just like the European model at this time, we have a big high pressure sitting over the northeast. This is going to block and impede movement of northward. It's not going to be in a hurry to move north as a result of that, because it can't go through it, right? So it's just going to kind of drift and drift and drift, and this high pressure is still over here, so it's going to direct it toward the Tennessee Valley. It does bring some rain in here, but not until Saturday night, and then it continues on Sunday, and then exits Monday morning. So they're not too dissimilar, but the total rainfall of this is not overly impressive for our area either on the GFS. So right now, we're just going to list showers, both Saturday and Sunday. We'll narrow down timing for that once we get a little bit closer and we understand where this is going to go, and the landfall point is going to make a difference for our area too. If it, as far as how strong or weak it is, it's definitely not going to be strong when it gets up here in any scenario. So we're not dealing with a wind situation here, but we are dealing with some rain. If I had to put early numbers on it, I can see somebody getting 1 to 2 inches out of it over a 2-day period as a worst case. It's not looking like it's a big deal. But we'll continue to follow that just in case that changes. It goes up a little bit. We're still not getting 4 to 8 inches of rain out of this with the way this is looking right now. Okay, it's just going to be kind of a shell of its former self by the time it gets up here and affects our area. So we will focus on landfall point for the Florida interests, because it does look like there is going to be some landfall somewhere in Florida, whether it's the Big Bend or on the west coast of Florida itself. And then crawling up the coast, we'll see. But they're kind of narrowing in on that idea. The National Hurricane Center, by the way, is at the 11 o'clock advisory. This is what they have, and it has it very close to Tampa here, kind of going with a GFS European model blend here, kind of in the middle with the center of the cone. But you see the cone of uncertainty goes out pretty far here at day 5, so there could be some differences, and it will eventually will reach a major hurricane status once it gets north of Cuba, and then may weaken as it gets close to the coast, interacts with the coastline, encounter some shear and that kind of thing. But we do think eventually taking this beyond that, it does kind of go in this direction. And then peters out in the Tennessee Valley and Ohio valleys with time. So we'll continue to follow that throughout the week. There's a lot of people interested in this and asking a lot of questions, but because they hear the name hurricane and they're like, oh no, hurricane's coming in the week. Well, it's really not. It's a shell of its former self at that point, so it's not really. That's going to be the headline grabbers over the media. They're going to run with it. I can almost guarantee it. But it's just because it was once a hurricane and a formidable hurricane at that, when it was on either just off or over the west coast of Florida, doesn't mean it's going to be anything like that when it gets up here. This is going to have a lot of mountainous terrain to cover, and it's just going to kind of not completely fizzle out, but it's going to be not a really much of a wind concern, just a little bit of shower activity associated with this, some rain in the Saturday, Sunday, maybe even Monday morning time frame. We'll narrow down that timing when we get a little bit closer as well. I'm EPAWA meteorologist Bobby Marchus. That is your outlook for September 26th, 2022. Have a great Monday.